Hello and welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. With me today is Nikhil Malankar. We're starting this new podcast series where I'm going to talk to a lot of industry folks from India as well as outside India. The first episode, I thought it was great to start with the Indian system, Indian ecosystem. And I think Nikhil has enough experience to tell us how has the industry changed. But before that, let's just jump into who Nikhil Malankar really is. Nikhil, over to you.
So first of all, Weber, thanks a lot for having me on the very first episode of your podcast. So very grateful for that. About me, my name is Nikhil Malankar. I've been in this industry since 2013. So been almost 8 years since I'm in this industry. Apart from that, I also have my own YouTube channel with around 82,000 subscribers, wherein I actively talk about games and game development industry in general. Over the last 8 years, I have observed a huge shift in the gaming industry, wherein I have seen trends like small-time game developers growing into big companies. Some people, passionate people like ourselves, having grown from almost nothing to making a mark in the industry. I've also seen likes of Raji and Augerhead Studio launching their game Asura. Then even Skatelander for that matter. So having have seen huge amount of things, huge shifts in the industry right from 2013 to now. So yeah, that pretty much sums my intro and what I've observed over the years.
Pretty sick to see, how this industry has grown over the past few years. But we are jumping directly to this 2013. Let's just go
Yeah,
back, rewind the whole scene and talk
yeah,
about how it all started, because I think it's very important for us to set up the base, as
yep.
in what exactly is Indian gaming ecosystem, how it all started, and what are we doing right now. So let's go back to the era where I know a couple of things. I'll also want you to put pitch in.
Sure.
So for me, this was back in 96, 97, or 98. That was the
Yeah,
time when when few, I would say, few good men just dreamt of an industry which was very new. Nobody in
yeah,
India was doing it at that time. And these couple of guys, namely Vishal Gondal,
yeah,
Rajesh Rao from Dhruva, and Nitish Mittal Sen.
yeah.
Yeah, I think these three guys were the pioneering,
Pioneers. Yeah.
yeah, pioneers of Indian ecosystem, wherein they started their own individual journeys. What do you know about this?
When I ever since I started my career, I had two major inspiration. One was Rockstar Games. The second was actually Vishal Gondal, because he was this god in chief. His official title at India Games was
Yeah,
god in chief rather than
yeah.
CEO. So that
Man,
was
I
like
just
such a
I just got goosebumps because I
yes.
remember the time I used to work at India Games, and this was one term that was very popular during that time. Yeah, go ahead.
And
Sorry.
it is true, right? It is true that he was the god of Indian gaming industry because he was the person who started this trend, brought Spider-Man all the way from US to India. I mean, at the time, who would have dreamt that Spider-Man would be developed by an Indian game development company?
Yeah,
Spider-Man's game actually would be developed by Indian games industry. And I used to have those new smartphones wherein still the technological capabilities of those phones were not that good, but still even in those restrictions, people like Vishal Gondal sir, Rishi Oberoi sir, and all these people, they came in together, and even in those particular restrictions they made some amazing quality games. A lot of people are not aware of this past, and these days it really saddens me to kind of see people saying ki India can't make good games, but that's not true at all. India
yeah,
has been making great games. India has been servicing some amazing games, like the likes of Forza Horizon and even GTA 5 for that matter. A lot of assets that are there within these games are actually developed by Indian studios.
very
So
true.
I think the only perception is that people are not aware what kind of efforts are going on in this space, and rightfully so. These three people have been the pioneers, and Dhruva Interactive, which was started by Mr. Rajesh Rao Dhruva. was also now acquired by Rockstar Games. So huge shifts we have observed. Even Nazara, for that matter, went ahead and became like the first Indian gaming company to have an IPO. So
Yeah,
great stuff, man.
in a way, all three of them, started really small, started probably individually and with a couple of their friends. But now, if you see the outcome, all three
Yeah,
of them have made it massive. And
yes,
you're right. People still think that India can't make great games, but all three of them, I think, and there were a lot of others also. By the time
yeah,
2000 came in and 2001, there were a few more companies who were doing good. I think Contest to Win also started in 2001,
yeah.
which then evolved as
Games to win.
Games to Win, Mobile to Win, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But these people were responsible to start this ecosystem. And if you talk about these people at that time, I think Nazara was the company who was dealing with telcos and OEMs, and it was
yeah,
huge. It's still, I think, till like 2 years back, Nazara was still doing huge in Southeast Asia on
yeah,
telcos, which is like the tier three and tier two and tier three cities. They were good in doing those Symbian phone games for telcos,
yeah,
whereas Dhruva, on the other hand, was doing outsourcing work for people outside India, like
yeah,
the artwork, which
yeah,
nobody thought of doing at that time. Also, in terms of India games, they were just blowing people's mind. Like the first ever
yeah,
mobile cricket game made by India Games in 2000, right? Then the Spider-Man thing,
yeah.
the IP thing, then converting the whole thing into it. And now, if you see, all three have done like great. And I think most of us are inspired by these stories, and that's how we also started. But yeah, that's one particular setup, how I personally know the whole industry has grown. What were you doing, by the way, in 2000?
2000, I was a kid. I was like what? I was born in 94. So by 2000, I was like what, 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old. I was at the time just playing games and enjoying games, just studying. I think by the time I was doing that, you were already trying your hands into enter in this industry, right?
Yeah, for me it was like 2001 to 2007 was complete research period,
Yeah,
because 2001 was I think I was in ninth or 10th standard. And at that point I decided to get into the industry.
yeah,
And the biggest problem of Indian gaming industry was, uh, there was no, and this was the problem with India specifically.
yeah,
There was no internet connection. Like there was no access to internet. I would say internet connection
yeah,
was there, but there was no access to internet connection for a lot of us. And
yeah,
even if people were able to get on internet, there was not enough information out there. Like today we are doing these videos on YouTube talking about game development and game design, but at
yeah,
that time I think hardly two three websites, IGN, Gamma Sutra, only these websites used to publish few articles where you don't understand how to get into the industry. So for
yeah.
me, 2001 to 2007 was like complete research,
Correct.
uh, as to how to get into the industry, and I miserably failed. I was very lucky. I was very lucky that India Games gave me the opportunity, to get into the industry.
Yeah.
Because the way I gave the interview, the intern interview was shit, was pretty bad.
My journey was like, my journey dates back when I recall I was a 3-year-old kid. My dad had bought this new Windows 95 system, and it had just one game on it, Doom, the classic old Doom. And
Yeah.
that was my introduction to gaming per se. For a very long amount of time, I was just interested in playing these games. I never really thought of entering the development side of things. But that slightly started changing in 2009 when I played GTA Vice City, and that game really caught my intrigue. I thought it was an amazing game. You could
Do you,
go.
do you, do you remember the first day you played the game? I remember it specifically. Do you have any memories of that?
Unfortunately, I don't remember my first day, very first day. No.
I do remember getting that CD from one of my friend who used
Yeah.
to live like 1 hour away from my house. Just took a train, got the CD and played. With the day I played Vice City, I didn't sleep at night. I got weird dreams
Yeah.
of me driving scooter because
Yeah.
there was no game where I drove a scooter
Yeah.
in it, and I got weird dreams of me driving scooter with Aladdin sitting behind me.
Awesome,
So,
awesome. I
so
mean,
I
it
just
was
yeah
quite similar to my case as well. Like I obviously I didn't dream of Aladdin sitting behind me, but it was a great thing, Like I thought of modifying this game. Then I entered into modding GTA Vice City. I started changing billboards and all within the game. I'm like a huge fan of Shah Rukh Khan, so I changed multiple billboards and I put on his classic tag hoyer ka billboards around in the Vice City game, and that was just pretty much it. I made this modded version of Vice City that was similar to Mumbai City, and then it was just sitting on my hard disk. Never really had any further intentions. But one fine day, a friend of mine came over at my place. I showed him this game just as a show off that we have a habit, right? We do
yeah
something, we as humans want to express ourselves. So I showed him this game, and then in turn he just asked me one simple question that later on became the idea of entering into this industry. So he asked me that, hey Nikhil, if you can do this, why not make a game by ourselves wherein we get to see Mumbai City as a game.
yeah
And now we are fortunately blessed that we are now starting our journey into developing a game that is based on Mumbai City. So this was back in 2009. It's almost more than a decade now, and that
yeah
dream has stayed with me. Obviously, in our initial days, as you mentioned, you made blunders. Same was our case as well. Even in our early stages, we made tons of blunders. For the first 2 years, we made absolutely no money from our own games. This is also a misconception, right? That you start out in the gaming industry, you make
this
a game,
was
and
this was
overnight.
this was which year?
This was in 2013. Yeah, so for the first 2 years, we made absolutely no money from our games. The foolishest idea, the stupidest thing in our case was that none of us had any idea of how to run a business. One. Second, none of us knew how to make games. So we had to learn all of these things by ourselves, by watching YouTube videos and all. And fortunately, by this time, at least the internet was available. So the internet was our best friend, and we
Right.
could actually invest our time and learn. A lot of people want to just enter into this industry, but they don't want to go through the hard work or the efforts. I'm recalled by this amazing quote by Mark Cuban. It goes like, sweat equity is the best equity. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to put in that amount of effort, you have to put in the work in order to get to where you are. So that's what we did. And before focusing on earning, we focused on learning. So that also became our advantage, I could say.
Right, and I think that's one big problem with the current generation as well, which I've been facing a lot when people go into this Q&A mode. It's just about um, earning and nothing
Yeah.
about learning, like you rightly said. Also, I think a lot of us who are in the industry right now, they're all self-learned.
Yeah.
I mean,
Correct.
there were no institutes at that time. There were no college. There were not enough resources. Which right now there are courses on Udemy. YouTube is huge. There was no
Yeah.
YouTube at that time. So,
Yeah.
and everybody that I know in the industry who's done well and doing well, I think all of them are like self-learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to the journey of India.
Yeah.
Um, what I know so far is 2001 to 2010 was all about the Symbian phones,
Yeah.
right? So 2001 to 2010 was all about the Symbian phones, where there were a lot of companies, and mainly these two companies, Nazara and India Games, were already making games, but there were new companies coming up with games on those phones, right?
Right.
um, right, and then that was, I think that was huge, but along with that Flash came in, where people
Yeah.
started making games on Flash portals.
Yeah.
And in 2010, 11, I think 10 or 11 app stores were launched on
Yeah.
both the platforms, but then India was not really into it. Like India, I think was just trying to understand the app store market. And in
Yeah.
2011 or 12, we all picked up. Like we all picked up making mobile games, and that's where I think you mentioned that you started doing it in 2013. And obviously, because none of us had that experience, none
Yeah.
of us knew what to do on mobile to succeed.
Yeah.
uh, App stores were new, and they were like India was non-existent for them, to be very
Correct.
honest. What do you like just before entering in 2013? Do you recall those first 2 3 years wherein app stores came in India?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, our entry into the market was in 2013, but our journey had actually began somewhere in the late 2011s or 12s, wherein we were actually trying to build a PC game.
Hmm.
But that was actually the pivotal moment wherein smartphone penetration started happening at a very rapid pace, and everything was changing. All the dynamics, everything that we knew up till now was completely obliterated, was completely replaced with a new era of technology. No longer were SMSs a thing, right? Now SMSs were getting replaced by WhatsApp messages. So
Yeah,
entire industry was disrupted, and we could say that that also proved to be a good point for us, because now the entry barrier was very less. Like before that, you actually had to go through a huge process of even getting like a mobile game published on the market, because you had to have like some kind of publisher connections or anything. Now you could actually just open up a Play Store account,
yeah,
pay like a development fee, and just distribute as many games as you want. So that came to our advantage, and that we really benefited from that, because as I mentioned, we didn't make any kind of money from the games. So I do recall, since that was not the case, we genuinely had fun doing what we were doing at the time.
yeah,
Whatever we made was purely out of love, purely out of passion, and I think it was the same case for you as well.
yeah. That is when you're more productive, I feel.
Yep.
Right, when you do something which you really I don't recall any games that, like apart from Mukti, which I'm working right now. I don't recall any of the games which we were that excited as much as we were for Skatelander. It was like a firstly it was like a do or die situation for us. If that game wouldn't have worked, underdogs would have been shut. So one thing was that, and then the other thing was we really loved, and we were hyped about the idea that we had. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
The other thing I want to highlight is that a lot of these new developers that entered during that point of time, we have grown with these people, right? And it is great to see that from what they were and what they are right now. We've seen some amazing stories coming out of India. Raji was also, in development for a very long amount of time. Yeah. So Raji was also a huge story that we had to go through, and similar to your story, wherein if Skatelander didn't work, then it would have been a shutdown situation for you. I think for the most passionate game developers out here, it was a similar roadblock for them as well. Like even my studio, for that matter, we also had to face like a lot of setbacks. The developers of Raji, I heard a story wherein one of the key members, they leased out their own home to get
True.
that game developed, right?
Yeah.
So so it is very wrong to say that Indians are not passionate to make games. A
Yeah.
lot of people, and it really hurts me to hear these things, that people think that Indians don't want to make good games. It's simply not true. I mean, we who doesn't want to make a good game? Yeah, there are some people who approach it from a monetary perspective,
Yeah.
but
Through a business.
even that is not
Yeah.
wrong, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. You're right. Like coming to that point itself, right? I think it's divided into multiple categories, subcategories of gaming companies. Just correct me and pitch in your thoughts as well. This is what I think.
Yeah.
It's mainly divided into three parts. Like the first one are the big companies, the huge companies, which are majorly focused on business of games, which you rightly
Yeah.
said, the monetary things that they are focusing on, right? They may be in card games, they may be the real money gaming platforms, they may be big in telcos or IP games, or maybe they are not doing it themselves, they're not making money themselves, but they have acquired other companies who are doing well, right? That's
Yeah.
one category. The third category, I think, is the smaller teams, like one people, two people, three people,
Yeah.
team teams which are making games, which are freemium or hyper casual games,
Yeah.
and trying out with publishers. And the
Yeah.
middle ones, the second category that I feel is studios like you and me, who probably do not belong to any of the categories of the first and
Yeah.
the third, but they are, I think they are, and there are a lot of studios even nodding at the Raji team, Ogre Head guys, who are working on
Yeah.
Yodha, who did Asura. You guys are working on Mumbai Gullies. We're working on Mukti. Like, these are the people who are innovating stuff, I feel, who are
Yeah.
taking a bigger risk, I feel,
Yeah.
who actually don't have enough money to pursue these kind of dreams or bigger games. I wouldn't say AAA category games, but decent indie games that can make India stand out in the global market.
Yeah.
That's my categorization of Indian ecosystem. I would also say back in 2010, 11, there were hardly 30 companies, 20, 30 companies in gaming. Right now, I feel if you just combine all these three categories, I feel there are over 500 companies in India. What's your take on this?
Easily. I totally agree with you on these three broad categories, wherein the first category is these corporates that have grown way beyond what anyone could have imagined. And
Yeah,
these companies have actually set an example that yes, there is a market for India to make money and also be profitable. The classic example is definitely Nazara and also India Games, because India Games was the one who set the bar for gaming industry in India very first. They got acquired by Disney, right? So
right.
that serves as a example that yes, a gaming company from India can get a successful exit. The second category, as you mentioned, it's studios like you and me who have the potential to grow rapidly if the projects that we are working on succeed, and that has also served as a success model with regards to Raji and Asura. And very soon, I hope that same model and the same ray of appreciation is showered upon Yodha as well. Then there are these one or two member teams such as our very own Chirag, Himanshu Manwani,
Yeah.
right? So even these people, and there is a fourth category, which
Oh my.
which is
Oh, I am not aware. I'm not aware of this.
which is slightly problematic, wherein this fourth category is of these FOSI CEOs
Oh
who
my.
kind of, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So that is in a way I look at it from both perspective. It is good as well as it is bad. Bad because these people start out very early and they don't know a lot of things, so they assume a lot of things, and kind of they're not where they are supposed to be right now. They are supposed to study and complete their education and stuff. The good
I
side of
think
things is,
I think you nailed it.
yeah,
For I didn't count it because I don't really count them in.
yeah, but you can't rule these out because these are the people.
Agreed.
उसमें से one of these people may become a
Agreed.
success and
Agreed.
then turn into the category, the second category of the third category. So it's great that these people are starting out, but my take to these people would be just be patient, because you are in for a lot of disappointments that you have to go through and
Right.
persevere in order to become successful, I would say. Yeah.
That's experience that's talking. But what do you
Yeah.
really like the all these things that we keep on talking and telling people on YouTube, it's purely what we have gone through, and that's the
Yeah.
experience, right? You've been through a lot of downs, I've been through a lot of fallbacks every time. Like, that's the way this industry is working. But what do you think is the reason that these people, I know what you're talking about. These are like 10, 12, 13, 14, 16-year-old kids who are,
Yeah.
you know, who I don't know, like I can't really put it in words.
Yeah.
Like someone who is making games for 3 years, 4 years,
Yeah.
uh, even they think that making a game is 100% of the job.
Yeah.
If they haven't published any game before,
Yeah.
right? They think that making a game is the end of the story. But making a game, it's like just 20-30% of your job. And
Yeah.
then there comes a lot of things, like publishing it, marketing it, making money out of it, ASO, getting approaching app stores or publishers
Yeah.
or stuff like that, and a lot of other stuff which can help you make money out of the game, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the people who have experience of like 3-4 years in gaming. Now
Yeah.
just look at these people, these category of people, the
Yeah.
kids. They are not even close to what these people are right now, because they
Yeah.
have built stuff before. And
Yeah.
what do you think is the reason that this is happening a lot in India? It is happening actually.
Yeah, I think that there are two reasons. One is the lack of education around game development industry. Second is lack of education towards parents. Like, and I hope that this would change in the next generation, wherein, parents would be like you and me. The next generation of would slightly get more support towards the gaming industry, because I think we do understand and we have lived with games. The next set of parents would be the people who have actually grown up playing Road Rash or Vice City, right? So they would
Yeah,
actually understand this
absolutely.
narrative. The second thing is lack of education around gaming industry, which brings me to a point that these kids who want to start out, they actually don't know what it is to enter this industry. They play these games, they play PUBG, they play Counter Strike, they play Fortnite, they play GTA, and they think that making a game, you just need an idea, and once that idea clicks, you just have to, I don't know, like sit for
I'll
like
tell
a,
you what. I'll know you
yeah.
just make a thumbnail.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
make a thumbnail, you put it out, you just make a screen, put it out, and just announce the release date.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
That's what it should be.
that plus the fact that they think that it is just a matter of idea, which
Yeah.
it completely is not, right? Like even this is not just in terms of games, but even in terms of startups on a broader note, right? A lot of people have a misconception that an idea can change the world, which is true, but idea without execution can do nothing. It just stays right there and does nothing. Uh,
Yeah.
an idea along with execution, let's say like you got an idea, you build a team around it, mentor this team, or maybe become a part of some other team if that's not what you want to do, right? And then have that learning experience. It is all just a matter of patience. It does not happen overnight. The fact
Right.
that people read on Google that Minecraft was developed in 6 days, that is the
Yeah.
most absurdly misleading thing
Taking
you
it,
can.
yeah, they're taking it for granted. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what happens. You can make a Minecraft in 6 days, right?
Yeah, it you maybe you could, but then it won't work, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
some developer can hack up a demo that is like resembles Minecraft, but right from the day that that game was launched, all the way from there till now, constant set of updates have gone into that game. Many bug fixes have gone into that game, and now that game is counted as a AAA title.
Yeah.
Not when it was launched. When it was launched, it was actually an indie game. So
Yeah.
this is something that Indians also need to understand, is that it takes efforts, and I am pretty positive that this is changing in a very right direction, because nowadays investors, also foreign investors, are also interested into the Indian landscape, and
Yeah.
I can see great things happening over here. And Nazara's IPO was, I believe, like one of the biggest turning points in Indian game development history, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember this. I remember a saying which which came out when Pokemon Go was a hit.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go was probably one game which just spiked up
Yeah.
in a day or two, right? And then people just started talking about it, that it's a one night success and all
Yeah.
that shit, right? So the creator of the game actually published a statement saying that, I mean, he didn't explicitly spoke about it. It's just one line that I remember from his interview saying that it's definitely not a one night success. It's the hard work of 20 years,
Yeah.
which eventually executed into a one night success.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and I think people really don't understand that fact.
Yeah.
I remember I also one of my mentors gave me a great example, and that really resonates with these kids, right? Who just want to become a CEO,
Yeah.
um, even if they don't have any experience in making games, right? Um,
Yeah.
I remember him saying that, if you want to start a garage, if you want to start a decent garage which can make you profits, do not start it directly.
Yeah.
Just go in some garage, work as a helper in a garage, see what the owner is doing, how he is dealing with his clients. You'll see some other mechanics who are using some very amazing tricks that you
Yeah.
probably are not aware of. Learn
Yeah.
those tricks, and when
Yeah.
you're comfortable and when you understand the whole thing, probably then think of starting your garage. I think simple, very simple, but these kids don't understand it.
Yeah. The best example that most of the times I keep on talking about is so there are a lot of things that you don't know. So it is
Yeah,
that discovery that you make on your way and you fail multiple times, and then you put in, make one game, two game, 10 game, 13 game, and your 52nd game then turns out to be Angry Birds.
correct.
So I think that it's all about the journey rather than just hitting that mark or making like your first game get you $1 million. Yep.
100%, 100%. I think one of the things that really changed the industry was the year 2014, 15, wherein there were a lot of indie game developers who were good. I mean, they were capable of doing stuff. They just needed publisher. They just needed funds,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But they still, when they wanted to do this stuff, they did it, right? They did it.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of names I can recall. Like you mentioned, Himanshu was there. Himanshu won a couple of competitions back in 2015. Himanshu Manwani. There was Chirag. There were BYOF was one studio. All in a Day's Play was another.
Yeah.
There were a lot of studios. Shailesh Prabhu was a part of
Yeah.
the industry at that time. Now he shifted to
Yellow Monkey game.
yeah, Yellow Monkey Games. So these people, we had Skatelander 2015. So indie game developers, there was a great wave that came in, and
Yeah.
because a lot of games were pushed towards Google Play and Apple App Store, they started taking people seriously from India.
Yeah.
And I think 2015 was a game changer. A lot of good games came out from India, launched globally, got featured globally in multiple countries, and I think people really started taking India very, very seriously, because the games from India were actually making money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then came in games like Ludo King, which was absolutely madness. Like, it just it just combined the social element with playing,
Yeah.
about playing with your friends, and then simplicity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even this thing, right? How many of us thought of making a Ludo? Everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought of making a Ludo.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. In 2013, I thought of making Ludo and Snakes and Ladders together in one game, because I thought Ludo can't be this big. So I
Yeah.
have to combine couple of games and make a pack, right? Like we
Yeah.
had on the board games. But then
Yeah.
Ludo came in, it just made huge money. It's still making money. It crashed servers at one
Yeah.
point of time.
Yeah.
Millions of people playing it every day. Then came in PUBG, and PUBG, I really know that PUBG came in, and in 2017-18, what happened was, casual gamers were playing games because of Ludo and the card games.
Yeah.
They were huge, but kids and the younger generation got hooked to different kinds of games because
Yeah.
of PUBG and the streaming platforms. Like streamers came in
Yeah.
and they just opened a wide, a huge area wherein nobody thought that in India people would spend money to see other people play games,
Yeah.
right? And then every new game that these streamers picked up, people got hooked to those games. And I think
Yeah.
that really changed the system. uh, it helped game developers as well. This was about gamers, but this helped game developers as well, because then for them the audience also increased,
Yeah.
right? The amount of people playing games increased. So
Yeah.
that's the journey I feel. It was step by step, but this was a journey. I remember in 2010 or 2020, IGDC Apple announced that PUBG alone on Apple in India itself made around $100 million.
Yeah.
So one thing which we were not sure up until 2 years back, right? That India can't make money is absolutely false, because
Yeah.
India made money for PUBG that was around $100 million, which
Yeah.
clearly states that if your game is good, it's going to
Yeah.
make money for you, even if it's India as a market, right?
Correct.
So that was a journey for me. What do you think is going on at the current state, and tell me about the future as well.
So right now we are at a very golden age of gaming where you have this huge set of audience that is ready to watch streamers play, and you have streamers who are interested in trying out new games thanks to the PUBG ban, because up until PUBG was there people were just hooked on to PUBG. But once PUBG got banned in India specifically, streamers started exploring different kinds of games. Streamers started exploring Among Us, which was like a 2-year-old game, but people started playing that game. And thanks to the pandemic, I shouldn't say thanks to the pandemic, but pandemic was the area where game development companies actually grew exponentially. So huge credit goes to this home situation where a lot of people was just sitting idle at home, and since they had nothing to do, the only way that they could keep themselves entertained is via games, and maybe watching movies or something. But games have like an element to them that they have a social aspect.
Yeah.
Ludo, right? Ludo, as you mentioned, was such a huge thing right when the pandemic started. People were like inviting their friends, playing Ludo, Uno, Among Us, and all these games that had like a social element to them. So even then, these games started making a huge mark, and esports then became a huge thing, wherein we have got huge amounts of prize pool that has been kept for just playing games. So now the narrative is that you can also earn money by making games, and you can earn money by playing games, which was not very much the case up until a few years back. Maybe
True.
it was in the West, but it hadn't entered India yet. But now even in India you see so many tournaments that are being organized, and they have like thousands and hundreds and thousands of dollars of cash prizes, or even lakhs of rupees for that matter. So I think it's a great space to stay in right now. And moving forward, it is an exponentially growing market. Just in the year 2020, the revenues from India hit almost over a billion. To be precise, it was 1.2 billion dollars,
Wow.
somewhere around 90 billion dollar rupees in Indian currency. So I think the potential is huge. And investors have also started realizing this scenario, that putting in your money into gaming is like the short way to at least grow your revenues. So I think I see great potential in the future for Indian gaming as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, just to also
absolutely.
add to that, the advantage with us now is that we've experienced a success with a traditional game of Ludo. Now we have so many rich stories within India that a lot of developers can pick and make games on these stories, or even fictionalize some of the stories. What you are doing with Mukti, or what Augerhead Studios has done with Asura, and what and Raji as well, for that matter. So yeah, I think huge amount of success stories lying ahead.
Absolutely. So mobiles for me is a no-brainer. Like it's just going to blow up with the current situation which is going on. People are, because there are a lot of mobile users for sure in India, right? And the kind of games
Yeah,
that we are building, and the introduction of hyper casual games, which
yeah,
is again, which is just huge. The Western publishers who are making hyper casual games are now, very hungry to
yeah,
jump into India,
yeah.
because of the sheer audience they can reach, right?
Just the
But yeah,
volume, right? Just
yeah, the volume, absolutely. But I also agree to you. I see a lot of hope in terms of PC and consoles, because of the kind of stories that
yeah,
people are eager to tell. Also combined
yeah,
with the current news that a lot of VCs and investment firms are
yeah,
entering into the market. I'm really glad to see that a lot of Indian gaming companies in the past, just in the past 6 months, there are a lot of companies who secured good amount of funds just to make games.
yeah,
Not business of games, but at least pure play games that they can
yeah,
make.
yeah.
And there are a lot of VCs who've been interested in jumping on that bandwagon. um, I see a great hope for the industry in the coming 3-4 years. Absolutely.
Yep, yep. So that I think pretty much sums the entire status of gaming industry, right from the 90s to how it evolved in the early 2000s to the huge shift of smartphones in back in 2010 to 2015 ka era, and now in its current stage wherein you've got all kinds of avenues opened up for gaming, right from esports to mobile games to PC games. So huge amount of industry growth lying ahead, and huge amounts of investments as well coming that would actually enhance this industry in India. And there is no doubt that the industry in India would definitely rival and become much bigger than the industry abroad. Because to be frank, Bollywood is one of the biggest industries, and gaming to a certain extent has started to rival Bollywood as well. I
Yeah.
think gaming is already bigger than Bollywood. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this just happened in the last 2-3 years,
Yeah.
and globally it's going. I think it's gone number one. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
uh, but
I mean,
I
GTA 5 made like $1 billion on GTA 5 for that matter made like $1 billion on day one, right? Day one or
right,
day two. That has to say something about this industry.
right, absolutely. And there are a lot of things which are coming up now. I think everybody's taking it very seriously. Also
Yep.
in India, we spoke a lot about the state of the industry, of the Indian industry, and I think it's pretty solid. We are, as an Indian market, we're
Yep.
competing against the best of the best in the world. And that's not just about the gaming industry, the gamers perspective, but I'm talking about the game developers as well,
Yep.
because there are a lot of games coming up.
Yeah.
But what do you have to sum it up? Just to sum it up, what do you suggest? What is a piece of advice that you want to give to the young game developers entering the industry?
Yeah, so I think the single most advantage that any young game developer would have today is that he has access to internet. Like if they are listening to this podcast between you and me, watching this stream on a video, then they are very much well equipped to make any sort of game that they can dream of. If you have a PC, it is not required that you have like a high-end PC or something. It is all right if you have like a decent entry-level PC having like a medium graphic card or something. Have like an engine running on it. Maybe if you want to start into the gaming industry, pick up an engine. You don't need to have an engine that just typically runs Unreal Engine 5 or
Yeah,
has like a RTX mode on in it. You can start making a simple game. You can start uh, creating systems that you can build that can be enjoyable to play, because games at the end of the day, to put it simply, is just that. a single piece of joy that you are giving to the user. So, and that itself is something that you have to go through a lot of learning in order to get it right, which is like the core mechanics. So focus more on learning, and then once you learned enough, then focus on earning. That is my advice.
Yeah, I think like one thing that I just wanted to point out is this particular thing, right? Like you just mentioned about making a game, right? Just make a game.
Yeah,
But I see a lot of people just want to make the best game, the first game, the first AAA game, the best AAA game, or the best of the best games
yeah.
to start with. What do you think is the reason? Like, do you think one of the things you mentioned a couple of things, but do you think FOMO is one of the reasons?
Yeah, a lot of people think that their very first game will end up being a commercial success, which is just not true. Which is just absolutely not true unless you have like $1 billion lying or $1 million lying in your bank account.
Yeah,
And even then, you cannot guarantee that your game can be like a huge success. So I think the reason for that is just an innate sense of maybe this person has played a lot of games, maybe he's played like open world games, maybe played a lot of racing games, and then playing these games people get a sense of false sense of idea that they can also make a game that would rival these games. So
yeah,
it is not just that playing a game would give you an idea. It is also that you have to go through a lot of technical understanding of how things work behind the scenes, that will then enable you to make a good game. And not just that, you also have to understand human psychology, coupled with marketing techniques, because if you make a game and you're not able to get it out in the hands of as many people as you can, then there's no reason why you should make that game in the first place. Because if you want to do that, then that's just a hobby, and then you don't even have to worry about making money from that game. But if I'm
right.
making money to making games to make money from that, so you have to be like the developer, the tester, the art director of your own game, or even the ace marketer of your own game. And if you can't do that, just have like $1 million lying with you so that you can hire people to do that for you. So
Right.
that would be my advice. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very true, very true. And you really nailed that also. So, Nikhil Malankar, thank you. Thank you for being on this podcast. I really appreciate all the inputs that you gave. I hope they're truly helpful for all the people who are listening to this podcast. And once again, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being here.
Most welcome, Weber, and thanks a lot to you as well for having me on your very first episode of your podcast. I wish you great success with this, and whoever is listening, do subscribe to Weber Chavan, and I will spread the word on your behalf as well in my community.
Thank you, man.
Yep.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye.
मांगे मांगू हार न मांगे दर्द